The SPLOST Renewal Open House Tour made it to 4 stops across Cobb County before all our lives were changed thanks to COVID-19. But those who were able to make it out to the first few seemed to learn a lot about the legacy SPLOST has left in Cobb and how important it can be for the future.
The 1 penny is very impactful with how far it seems to go and the different projects that it can fund over time.
Right.
Typically what we have seen is that there's been a lot of expenses as to this SPLOST program that in the past in other counties are actually paid for by the actual property taxes that we pay. Okay, but this way it keeps our millage rate low. Everybody pays it. People that don't live in this county contribute to our county and pay for our roads, projects, and parks.
When the community needs a facelift, it gets a facelift, and it's due. It's time. It's well worth the money.
SPLOST stands for Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, and over the years in Cobb County, the extra 1 cent has funded some of the county's biggest transportation improvements, like the East-West Connector for one, built the backbone of a regional library system like the North Cobb Regional Library, and funded a long list of improvements to our parks. The proceeds are shared with the county's 6 cities, whose leaders say it makes up a big part of their quality of life projects.
We just don't have enough money in our budget to do some of these things. So SPLOST really makes a huge difference in our city's budget and helping with paving roads, projects and transportation and those types of things. To be truthful with you, I think we've gotten so dependent upon SPLOST, I don't know how we would do without it.
It has definitely increased our infrastructure. If it were not for SPLOST, because SPLOST is certainly our capital improvement plan, we would be having to raise our taxes, our property taxes, in order to have our infrastructure up to the point of where it is today. So it's been a godsend.
Indeed, having SPLOST has helped keep Cobb County's property tax rates the lowest in the metro area. It has assisted in keeping the county's AAA rating for 24 straight years now. And even with SPLOST in place for decades, Cobb County is still tied with others for the lowest sales tax rate in Georgia. SPLOST has enabled the county and its 6 cities to proceed with projects that otherwise would remain on the drawing board.
I have had the great, wonderful opportunity to go through 5 different SPLOST cycles. And those different SPLOST cycles have brought certain SPLOST revenues to our city to the tune of about $150 million. Those SPLOST revenues have been invested in the quality of life in our community and in many different types of projects, from transportation to a new community center, projects that we did joint projects with the county. And these projects are quality of life projects. You see, without SPLOST, our community would not look the way it looks today.
Hi folks, welcome back to the Cobb TV studios for night number 2 of our Cobb SPLOST Renewal virtual open house here in the somewhat socially distanced setup Cobb TV studios tonight. And we'll be privileged on this evening. Last night we heard from our agency directors and the chairman about the Cobb County SPLOST components. Tonight we'll be privileged to hear from 5 of the 6 mayors of the cities in Cobb County and the public works director for the 6th city, and we'll tell you why that one mayor cannot be here a little bit later on in the show. You have the option to ask some questions of those making presentations today. You have 3 ways you can do that. You can go to our website, click on the SPLOST page there, and there's a chat feature. You can ask some questions. You can simply email us at splostcomments@cobbcounty.org. Or you can go on our Facebook page where we're broadcasting this program live, make a comment in the form of a question, and we'll have that delivered and asked to some of our participants today. So we'll be hearing presentations from the 6 cities as we go throughout this evening. But we want to start tonight, as we did last night, with Cobb County's Commission Chairman Mike Boyce. And Chairman, last night we heard again from the agency directors about what is in the SPLOST program. Should voters renew it starting in 2022? What did you get out of last night, and what do you think people should have gotten out of last night?
Wow. Do I have all night to answer that question?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that, first of all, there was a couple takeaways. First, you saw that the commissioners working with the mayors who are here tonight and their staff, plus our staff and the community, put together a list over several months that reflects real requirements out there in the community, and why we believe that the list reflects what they want to continue to enhance the quality of life we have in this county. Second of all, that we've adapted very nicely to the new reality of doing these kind of virtual open houses. We had a lot of questions last night, and we have some tonight. And third of all, I believe it shows our commitment as elected officials to reflect back what we hear from you as to what we believe it is that you want in your lives to still, take care of your families and also address all the other requirements you have in your life, whether it be your businesses, whether it's your amenities. And the SPLOST list is kind of a compilation of what it is that we heard from you and what it is that we want to be doing for you if you approve this list in November.
And we've got a lot of time between now and Election Day, and there's a lot going on in our county and all across the country these days. And it will be a challenge, I guess, to educate people about the SPLOST and what's in it.
That's true, but remember, we now have a lot of tools today that we didn't have just 20 years ago. There's no doubt about the importance and the impact of social media. There are so many different platforms out there. I could just name 5 or 6 up at the top of my head. At my age, that's no small achievement. But the reality is that we need to educate the voters and the public, but reach them in the various avenues that they receive their information in. I think that what we've done right here is thanks to what you've done here in your team, but also what we've heard throughout the community is that we're trying to find a way to channel all this information in a timely fashion that fits into their lifestyle. Look, we all know that we have stress going on in our lives right now. We're overcoming all of this is the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's influencing every single thing we do here. It is shaping our lives for the foreseeable future. But we can't stop the progress that we've had over the last many generations because of one thing. That's not who we are as Americans. We live up to challenges. And so what these virtual town halls are doing is a reflection of how we flexed and pivoted to the new reality and still respond to our mandate to get out information to you so we can have an informed conversation so you can make an informed decision in November.
All right, I know you said you wanted to get to the mayor's ASAP, but we have a couple of questions that were left over from last night. I want to just hit you with one of them, and then we can come back to some more at the end, and we will be getting more questions in as the night goes on from people. Question from last night, will the board commit to holding county property tax rates at its current level or lower throughout the 6-year SPLOST period? If not, then speak on how SPLOST sales tax program affects the county property tax rate.
Well, listen, I think every elected official in Cobb County, regardless if you're a mayor or the county chairman or the board of commissioners, we want to have the lowest possible millage rate that reflects a revenue stream that meets all the requirements we have to deliver services that we are committed to do. And we're mandated by law to deliver public safety, water, and roads. But this county, over the last 2 generations, has decided that it wants to have these amenities that enhance our quality of life around here. So they've almost made it, although it's not a mandated essential service or a mandated or essential service, the popularity of them is such that they've almost made it of that stature. So our millage rate reflects that need. And the cities, they also have their own particular needs, and their millage rate reflects that. So I could sit up here and do a political campaign. Yeah, absolutely, I'm not going to raise your taxes. I think what I commit to is reasonable taxation that reflects the current realities of the world we live in right now. And I'm very pleased to say that this year, for the 3rd consecutive year, we'll leave the millage rate alone. Why is that? Because all of us together are working to the same end to achieve a standard of living that we can all be proud of here and want to pass on to our children. And we've been very, very blessed in this county to have a wide, diverse economic base that has, even during this pandemic, has still been chugging along to deliver the revenues we're going to need here to leave the millage rate alone. What the future looks like, I don't do crystal balls, all right? I just try to deal with what I think that what the world looks like today and what's going to look like tomorrow, but I can't look down the future. The beauty of SPLOST is that it has allowed us to lower our millage rate from, it used to be back at the turn of the century, above 11. It is now below 9. And the reason we can lower that from a higher millage rate of around 11 down to 9, less than 9, is because we've found a way to buy other amenities or capital structures using SPLOST. And the beauty of all that is that whereas your millage rate is passed by the board, SPLOST is approved by the voters. And there is no other vindication you need that if the voters want to support something and we deliver a product that they support, they have spoken. So we have a nice balance between the board doing the day-to-day stuff with the general fund dollars, but in the bigger picture stuff, we involve the voters through referendums, and they're the ones that affirm that this is the kind of lifestyle they want to have and this is how they want to pay for it.
And you talk about predicting the future. It's a very uncertain future right now, and it's already affected the SPLOST renewal. Should voters approve of it, it'll run for 6 years, but now projected to be not quite as large as it once was.
That's right, and I think that we made the necessary change to that based on, again, our conservative philosophy we have here in the county of making sure that we take seriously our fiduciary responsibilities to the taxpayers to use their revenue they give us in the best possible manner. So we believed, just 100 days ago, we thought that the future was, unblemished and completely, the sun would never set. Nature had a way of coming in and saying, hey, you need a little bit more humble here. So the good news is that we're going through this discussion right now rather than, had this discussion 5 months ago when we would set a collection point that we probably would not have been able to meet, and our list would not have been something that reflected the revenues we really would have brought in.
All right, last night was about SPLOST renewal for Cobb County and our agencies and what it means to us. Tonight it's going to be about the 6 cities in Cobb County, and in a somber ceremony held in my office earlier today, actually on my computer, we came up with the random order of those who will be speaking tonight. Mayor Al Thurman from Powder Springs will be up first. Mayor Ollie Clemens from Austell will be second. Mayor Tommy Allagood from Acworth third. Derek Easterling from Kennesaw fourth. Mayor Norton from Smyrna fifth. And we have a pinch hitter for Marietta, Public Works Director Mark Rice. He will be batting cleanup tonight, sixth, as we get going on. So let's bring on Mayor Al Thurman from Powder Springs right over here for his presentation. And Mayor, good evening. And the reason why we're doing it this way, by the way, is to keep things kind of socially distanced. We don't want everybody hanging together, so we're keeping folks as far away as possible. But Mayor Thurman, the evening is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. Over the past year, Powder Springs has presented a draft list for SPLOST at town hall meetings, council meetings, trying to get citizens' input. And we put forth a final draft. I don't see my list. There we go. Thank you. We put together a final draft of these lists with citizens' input. And the list itself, the budget list is about $14.3 million. And out of that, we started out with about 55 million, but we've had to dwindle it down to that. But also, we have $3 million that's been allocated by the county for joint projects. So hopefully, that will bring us to a total around $17.3 million and some change. Next slide, please. Public safety. This is part of our regular budgets and programs in regards to the SPLOST. I'm not seeing my information. I'm seeing the picture, but I need the slide. Anyway, part of that list will be dealing with buying some police vehicles, some radios, and some body cameras and so forth. Next slide, please. Transportation. We're working with the city of Austell. A plan has been put together to look at doing a trail project from city of Austell. The county is involved, and so is the city of Austell. This is a great project. We're looking to see this project come from Austell all the way to Powder Springs, ending at Lindsley Drive, connecting to the Silver Comic Trail. That's going to be a great access. A lot of people will be able to use this. It's going to have great connectivity. A lot of schools, parks, and different things can access this trail and access the Silver Comic Trail. Next slide, please. Also, transportation. We're looking to do some intersections. One of those is going to be at the Florence Road interchange. We're looking to do a roundabout. Hopefully will help with safety, sidewalks, and signal lightings. Next slide, please. Also, too, we're looking to do some signaling at the linear park, providing a signal there. We have money in our 2016 SPLOST. We're hoping to try to go ahead and get that done, and we have some other signals that we're looking at Sweetwater and New Macklin. Hopefully, we can get that done in the 2022 SPLOST. Next slide, please. In our Powder Springs Park, we're hoping to do some improvements there in regards to doing a farmer's market. We're looking at possibly a dog park, a pavilion in the Powder Springs Park. So we're looking to do some engineering and redesign of the Powder Springs Park. Hopefully that would be a great asset to the city of Powder Springs. But also in our linear park, we're looking to do a skate park. It's been on the drawing board for about 12 or 13 years. We're at a point now, we're ready to get that started. We believe it's going to be a great asset to the linear park. Hopefully, we've been hearing a lot of people wanting to see that skate park. Some of our other cities have skate parks, and we believe this is going to be a great asset to our city. Next slide, please. I believe that's it.
All right, you had mentioned, Mayor, about input from the residents of Powder Springs. What's that been like? How did you receive that input?
Well, typically at town hall meetings, we listen to the people and what they want. This is how we develop our plans in regards to what we're hearing from our citizens, and that's how, since I've been mayor, that's how I move. And basically with the council, we're hearing from citizens and things that we know, and we put forth the plan in that regards and try to see it through.
Yeah, we discussed this last night, where everybody wants a little something in their neighborhood. So how do you get through that and kind of come to a consensus?
Everything comes down to money and what you can and what you can't do.
And you and I had talked about this before. These projects you just showed us, they are in the proposed SPLOST renewal that will start in 2022. But what would you envision Powder Springs looking like had we not had SPLOST in the last couple of decades, really?
Wow. You know, we're a small city, so obviously our budget is not big as some of the other cities. SPLOST has been a tremendous help for us to be able to see projects through. Without SPLOST, I'm not sure where we would be at this point in time.
Yeah, so when people drive through town, they see the benefits of SPLOST.
Absolutely. Transportation projects, things of that nature, which are very costly. Without SPLOST, we would not have been able to do some of those projects.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor Thurman. If we get some questions coming in for you, we'll pull you back up here. But now I want to go to my left to the mayor of Austell, Ollie Clemens, who wants to talk about what the SPLOST renewal could mean for his city.
Thank you, Ross, and it's my pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank all of you all who are out there right now joining us virtually for this open house, and so that we can discuss the importance of SPLOST and its past, present, and future impacts on the city of Austell. For us in Austell, we're the smallest city. My position on SPLOST is simple. Of the 6 Cobb County cities, the city of Austell has the smallest population, 7,250 residents and counting, and we're working on a very small annual dollar amount budget with the lowest millage rate for any city in the state of Georgia. So what that does is that in order to help us keep taxes low, then you can't overstate enough how essential the SPLOST program is to a city like Austell. SPLOST provides critical funding for up-to-date radio technology, safety equipment, and vehicles for police and fire departments. My control. Next slide, please. With continued economic development and growth in Austell, the 2022 SPLOST will provide our first responders with the tools they need to meet the ever-growing commercial building demand in our city. Next slide. SPLOST helps us better train our first responders when emergencies happen. Next slide, please. In our most recent comprehensive plan, our citizens stated that they wanted greater connectivity through sidewalks. SPLOST funding helps assist our Public Works Department achieve those goals. Next slide, please. The 2022 SPLOST will help us continue to make improvements for our citizens and business community by allowing residents to walk to restaurants, shops, and parks, freeing up parking. Next slide. The Threadmill Complex which the city owns, is a significant asset for the city of Austell, and it generates $1.3 million in revenue each year. The previous SPLOST allowed us to install new exterior fountains while aiding in the repairs of the roof and the elevator. The 2022 SPLOST will provide a much-needed upgrade to the cooling tower. Due to technology changes, the current cooling tower, in order to remain efficient, will have to be changed. You all know that the Freon has changed, and we're mandated to make that adjustment. So that's going to be a huge cost that SPLOST will help us take care of, and we're excited over that. Next slide, please. The 2022 SPLOST will be the first time the water department has been included in the program. This is very beneficial because it will allow us to replace some of our aging infrastructure, maintain our large meters, and invest in critical upgrades to our water and sewer system. Next slide. We have some joint projects with Cobb County that we're very proud of, one of which Mayor Al Thurman just mentioned, that we're a three-way joint project with Powder Springs and Cobb County. Next slide, please. I believe you always get to where you're going faster by working together, and we're excited by partnering with Cobb County on these joint SPLOST Recreation Center and Austell Powder Springs Trail project. Mayor Thurman mentioned this Austell Powder Springs Trail, and it is something that we're extremely excited about. And we're looking at, we'll be conducting our master park plan study to determine best uses for the current park space and green space for greater utilization of trails and connectivity. The Austell Powder Springs Trail, in coordination with Cobb County and the city of Powder Springs, the multi-purpose sidewalk, will run from historic downtown Austell, connecting Austell to the Silver Comet Trail. It'll be a catalytic project for the corridor. Next slide, please. In addition, Austell will rely on the master park plan study and collaboration with Cobb County determining site selection for a new Austell Recreation Center. Next slide, please. We're excited that in this corridor over there in this part of the county, there's a huge need for a recreation center. And we're excited that we're partnering with the county for a much needed recreation center that will provide that local gathering area for our youth and neighbors, as well as help us achieve our goals of being a healthy, lifelong community and add to the quality of life for our citizens for years to come. And those are some of the amenities that you saw for our recreation center. That concludes our SPLOST presentation, Ross, and we thank you very much.
So Mayor, while you were giving the presentation, I did check, and it's too late for me to get a SPLOST line item for a new clicker for our PowerPoint system.
Yeah, it didn't work.
But we'll work on that for the next SPLOST.
Okay, thank you.
Get that taken care of. One question that came in for you, people wanted to know, in your opinion, what in SPLOST will benefit young people, and in turn, what will benefit older people?
Well, the older population, they love and still want to be a part of the community. They want to age in place. And we're looking at the possibility of joining with our senior center in the area to help provide more programming for them. And also, they want to get out and exercise as well. The multi-use sidewalk trail is going to benefit all, old and young. And the huge benefit of the multi-use sidewalk trail, not only will it connect us to Powder Springs and the Silver Comet Trail, it will also come right by the Recreation Center. So we're also excited about that as we look to seek ways in which we can improve the quality of life for old and young in Austell.
You mentioned it during your presentation that you've got a budget that's maybe smaller than many in this room right here. So with that as a background, how important of a role does SPLOST play?
It plays a monumentous role for us, because had it not been for SPLOST over the last couple of decades, there are many things that we would not been able to do unless we had increased our property taxes. And actually right now, we're really sitting on a very low tax rate, and our citizens really benefit from that. So all of the upgrades, our infrastructure upgrades, our public safety upgrades, all of those things would have been a tremendous challenge to improve upon, which in many cases, you have to improve upon that infrastructure. So SPLOST has been, as that soundbite you did on me earlier, has been a godsend for the city of Austell.
Right, and kind of going back to the question we got for you earlier, you've got some people who are going to want SPLOST projects that benefit older people. You got some people who want SPLOST projects that'll benefit maybe the younger folks who live in Austell. So how do you get through those kind of tug-of-war situations?
Well, everybody wants something. And what we want to try to do is see how we can meet the needs of everyone as best as we possibly can. As Mayor Thurman mentioned appropriately earlier, it's about the dollars and what you can and cannot afford. But we are taking into consideration every age group, every age population in our community, because what we want is to improve upon the quality of life for everyone. And I think by virtue of the fact that we have the plans for the SPLOST, the multi-sidewalk trail, the use trail, and the recreation center, that old and young will definitely benefit from both.
All right, and last question. I mean, it's a tough time right now in Cobb County and in the nation and everywhere, and it's a tough time to be talking anything really about a tax. But what would you tell people about the importance of this for the future?
Well, the importance of this, what I would tell people is it helps us maintain our tax level, our millage rate right now. And by the use of the SPLOST, what happens is everyone that comes in and out of the county, in and out of the city, they take part. They also take part in helping to use our infrastructure, wear our infrastructure down. And so they take part in helping us build back up and helping us provide a greater quality of life, not only for our citizens, but those that come and visit us. So the SPLOST, I would say, it's just actually one of the greater ways to go about taking care of this, because everyone that comes in and out and does business in the county shares in the success of your city.
Thank you, Mayor Clemens. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Ross. I appreciate it.
All righty. Take care. And to prove we didn't do this in alphabetical order, now number 3 on our hit parade from Acworth is Mayor Tommy Allagood. You've got the clicker, so are you going to trust that thing?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how we do here coming up.
It's like rolling dice. All right. Thanks, Mayor. Go ahead.
Well, good. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be here with you tonight. Want to bring you greetings from Acworth, Georgia. As we think about SPLOST, I want to just begin by saying that we have got in our city an extraordinary story, a story that is a very successful story about economic development and building quality of life. And for us, our story begins with the SPLOST dollar funding that we have received from all of the different SPLOST cycles that have transpired in our community. SPLOST has literally transformed our community, and in doing so, I would say unequivocally that our community would not look the way that it looks today without SPLOST dollars. The investment from SPLOST that has come to us, that 1 penny, the 1 penny SPLOST, over 4 SPLOST cycles, we get a fraction of that. We get a small allocation. But if you look at the 4 SPLOST cycles, our allocation that we've received in our community is over $100 million. $100 million, all invested in quality of life projects in our community. Once again, our community has been transformed, and we would not look the way that we look today. We wouldn't have the quality of life without SPLOST. So let's take a look back and kind of go back and see what does it look like to invest SPLOST dollars in our community. Well, in our downtown, all of our downtown redevelopment really has hinged on using SPLOST dollars. This is what we call kind of our second Main Street, which is right next to City Hall. We've built over 500 parking places to support all of our businesses in our downtown business area. SPLOST has repaved and repaired over 25 major tributary streets in our community, which has created traffic improvement, also safety conditions for roads that needed repair. We built a new police station. You know, we've been able to invest in our public safety program there, not only with equipment, but with this police headquarters that is about a $4 million investment in our community that was designed to have the state-of-the-art information in place to be able to police for the next 50 years in our community. SPLOST has also provided infrastructure and helped us to build parks. Logan Farm Park is our most recent park that we've just completed, and we were able to pay for the infrastructure that actually allowed us to develop the park, but also to be able to pay for Logan Farm Park with SPLOST dollars. Logan Farm Park, ladies and gentlemen, is about a 4-acre brand new park nestled in 140 acres of dedicated green space in our downtown. And it now has become the catalyst from where all the new businesses that are coming to our community all want to be located around this park. So it's an economic development tool for us to be able to bring business to our community. We've been able to create the funding to improve 6 significant intersections in our community. You're looking at Highway 41 and Nance Road, Mars Hill Road. It's about a $4 million investment, but what it does, it began to, as we've completed this, it allows traffic to move through this intersection with about a 50% more efficiency. We built a brand new community center as we partnered with the county using county funds as well as city funds. We built a brand new community center for all of the citizens in Cobb County to be able to use. We've just completed a brand new regional library. This regional library sits exactly between downtown Kennesaw and downtown Acworth. So these are some of the quality of life investments that we've been able to make with this $100 million during the last 25 years. Okay, click. There we go. So let's look at this year, 2020. We're calling ours the 2020 SPLOST because that's when the referendum, November 3rd, is going to come up this coming year. We're asking for a 1 penny SPLOST renewal. I want to thank all the citizens of Cobb County and all the citizens of Acworth for actually renewing this through these 4 SPLOST cycles. And we just want a continuation of this so that we can take the SPLOST dollars and invest them back into quality of life projects. So we've got 71% of the dollars that we propose for this new SPLOST to be allocated for roads and infrastructure, public safety, facilities and technology, and parks to all be part of this SPLOST investment. So our 2020 SPLOST renewal will invest in roads, repaved. We've got 7 roads that are specifically designed and slated for repaving: West Lakeshore Drive, Summit Circle, Old Cherokee Street, Brookhaven Subdivision, North Main Street, Beach Street realignment, and Academy Street. Those are the 7 big roads. That's about $10 million worth of repaving plus infrastructure repairs. Also, we're going to be investing in road repairs. We've got $6 million allocated for road repairs. There's probably within every neighborhood in our community a need for some kind of road repair. We've got a list of those. We're going to make those road repairs, miscellaneous stormwater, and also be repairing sidewalks. That's about a $7.5 million allocation there. Public safety. Once again, another item on us that's so important to us, public safety, about $1.5 million in vehicles, facility improvements, radio upgrades, body cameras, and car upgrades with technology to be able to keep our officers safe, but also to be able to keep our citizens safe too. Okay, another really important investment is going to be through our SPLOST, our city's facilities and technology. We've got additional acquisition slated for more downtown parking, city facility upgrades and expansion to our buildings, technology upgrades, cameras, and then we're going to put some money in place to be able to access federal, state, and local match. And then finally, and most probably equally as important to all the other parts, is the continuation of our investment in our city parks and trail development. Down at Cobb Park, where Lake Acworth is, we're just finishing up a master plan there. We're going to invest about $750,000 in that park, as well as the pedestrian bridge now that we're accessing over Highway 92. We're going to turn that into a pedestrian bridge and to create a trail around the lake and be able to invest in that. So further trail development, and then that trail around the lake that is going to be, let's click please, the trail around, there we go. Trail around the lake is going to be using the allocation that we share. It'll be a shared project between Cobb County and the city of Acworth, and we'll be using that allocation dollar to continue from the pedestrian overpass trail all the way around the lake. So our SPLOST renewal dollar amount estimated to be $25,856,000, and ladies and gentlemen, this will be an investment, a continued investment in our quality of life. And we are going to thank you in advance for supporting this.
And Mayor, thank you for the presentation. You covered both the past and the hopeful future. The only question I got directed toward Acworth that had to do about road repaving, you touched on that. That sounds like a need that's almost greater than any dollar amount that's out there.
Well, 71% of our SPLOST dollars that we collect are going to be invested in roads, either paving projects or road repairs, and making sure that we cover all the parts that need to be covered.
And that was my next question. You mentioned 71% of this SPLOST in your city would go toward roads and infrastructure. Is that greater than the past SPLOST?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. In the past, we've probably been somewhere around 45%, and we are going to dedicate 71%. We feel like we probably need to have some catching up to do.
And as you formulated your list in Acworth, and given what we've been going through since really toward the beginning of the year, how difficult was it to get citizen input and resident input, and how were you able to do that?
I think we've done it the same way everybody's done it. We've done it through public forums, gathering people together, but we're also, we do a really good job. We've had the list circulating that at our business association meetings and actually having it online and asking for citizen input. So we'll continue to do that right up to November the 3rd.
You did a good job of going through some of the projects that have blossomed up in Acworth, but I've been to the community center now several times, and that's really almost becoming kind of a centerpiece of the northwest part of the county.
Well, it really is. That is such a great quality of life project, and just during the first year, we've just celebrated our first anniversary. We've had over 100,000 people come through those doors and use that facility. Cobb County citizens as well as Acworth citizens. We've had some folks come from Kennesaw, so it has been like a regional community center.
And the folks up there got me looking into pickleball.
Pickleball's great.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that. Thank you, Mayor Allgood from Acworth. You hang on to that clicker because I don't even want to give it to give the clicker to Mayor Easterly from Kennesaw. We go just down Highway 41, just a mile or so to City of Kennesaw. Mayor Derek Easterling, and we're glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you,
And
Ross.
I know you've got some words of wisdom about SPLOST.
I do too, but first thing I have to say is Tommy Alligood, Mayor Alligood, such a great man. I didn't think he needed a clicker to make those slides change. But the first thing I want to say is thank you, Cobb County. Thank you to everybody that's tuning in and looking at us. I do want to say, Chairman Boyce, thank you very much. You hit on something that's important. You said the word commitment. SPLOST is a commitment, but it's also our commitment to the citizens to follow through and to get what they want. So I'm looking forward to that. And I want to encourage everybody, because 3 people have said it already, we have plenty of time until November 3rd. Well, let me tell you, you need to be informed and engaged before November 3rd. You need to know what SPLOST does. You need to go out and visit these parks and these facilities and know how important it is, because it's not just for you, but it's for bringing people in. It's for bringing in our visitors who are going to spend money in your shop and help encourage that SPLOST. So thank you for having me. Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and go to that second slide. Thank you. We're going to focus on parks and facilities, but I want you to take a quick look at the bottom of the screen. SPLOST is about $34 million, $34.8 million this year, or over the next 6 years. And that's with a $3 million contribution from Cobb County. And that's the other word that I want to use. It's collaboration. We've collaborated on many projects. We work well together, but the key word is cooperate. We cooperate with the citizens, we cooperate with the elected folks in the county, and we make it happen. Depot Park. As you know, we've been working to transform our downtown. We have 2 entertainment districts. You can go into one restaurant with a drink and go here or go there and walk around. But we wanted to be transformational in how people see downtown, so we're building Depot Park. We've already completed the first 7 phases. Phases 8 through 12 will include an expanded green space, but have an amphitheater, entertainment areas, greater parking. It's an expensive project, but it's something that the citizens have asked for. Go ahead, next slide. The Recreation Center. This is phase 2. We're going to include the multi-sport court and gymnastics gym. Yes, we are trying to rival Acworth. I'll go ahead and say it. We're trying to get it out there because we are 6 sister cities. We are together in this, and we make Cobb County, and we want every city, every county area to be special. So we're going to put some money in this, and this is where the contribution from Cobb County is going to help us with this. Go ahead. The facility improvements. Infrastructure's aging. Need more people to do different things. We need space, but we need the space for 30, 40 years from now. We don't want to build something now and need something new in a few years. So with all the cybersecurity, all the other things that we need, this is the kind of money that we need to develop these projects. And a lot of planning has gone into this. Now we're going to shift gears because this is a big one. Transportation and roads. Everybody that lives in Kennesaw goes to Swift Cantrell Park. We need a traffic light. You told us that. So, okay, I'll back off just a little bit. No, it is. Our park is visited. I couldn't tell you the number of folks that go every day. And you thought it was tough to make a left turn in LA. Well, it's tough making a left turn out of Swift Cantrell Park on most days. We need a light. There's a cost. And we can't do that light without SPLOST. Go ahead. Sardis Street. Talking about downtown. When we talk about transforming downtown, we're talking about making it walkable. You know, having that easy pedestrian feel through downtown. So we have to take our traffic out and around. Well, Sardis Street has been improved. Sardis Street is on the south of Main, just before you hit our downtown area. And what we hope to do is to take Sardis Street up to Cherokee with a roundabout, another roundabout, bring it behind the museum and across the railroad tracks so that we're not using Cherokee Street for that cross traffic with trains and all, providing access. You'll have turnouts for Moon Station Road back onto Main Street. So it's a way to get around. But what's really going to happen is it creates that pedestrian area one more time for downtown, and it provides greater traffic flow. So, and that's a much needed project. The neighborhood projects, our folks are really good about trying to improve sidewalks, curb and gutter and streets in some of the older neighborhoods. Occasionally we get 1 or 2 sidewalks a year, but this year we're trying to spend $800,000, or over this SPLOST budget, $800,000 for the curb and gutter and sidewalks in neighborhoods to make them a little bit safer. Okay? And public safety. We're in need of a new police department facility. Right now at City Hall, we all of our City Hall, all of our businesses share that one facility. And we know that the funds for policing, they need to be increased. It's a call for us to increase their ability to perform their jobs the best they can. And I know there's a lot of things going about funding. I'm going to stay away from that. But I can tell you, if we equip the police with the right equipment and we provide the training, the vehicles, the things that they need to do their job, and we support them, we back them, then we can really make a difference. But it's quite expensive for a public safety building, and that's what we're hoping for. So go ahead. I think that should be the last one. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for flipping those for me.
Yeah. And do you have a location for that?
No, sir. We're actively looking. We've looked at different ideas, different places. It will be a central location, easy out.
Do you think people who live in Kennesaw realize what the city would look like had there not been SPLOST?
Oh, yes, sir. Very, very easily. We talk about being transformational. You know, there are still parts of Kennesaw that are being redeveloped. And as that redevelopment comes in, people are, wow, I can't believe that this is coming. But it is, it's true. We wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't even be but a dot on a map.
And like I asked Mayor Alligood too, is transportation and infrastructure, is that becoming a greater component in SPLOST for you?
Yes, it is, a much greater component, because, you know, we're trying to learn how to get in and out all the time, how to get people where they need to be in a timely fashion. It's matching the exits to the ins, but we want people to be able to move through. And they've done a great job with the traffic studies, with the signals, the synchronization of the signals. The roundabouts have come a long way in helping us. The divergent diamond, all those things that connect the city to the county and other cities, they're great.
Yeah. So we've got a pandemic going on, a presidential election coming up, all sorts of things going on that's keeping everybody's minds occupied on other things. How do you get the message of SPLOST out?
People need to go back to work. We need economic development. That's the key. And as the chairman said earlier, you can't stop. We have to keep this momentum going, because we have to be ready for when we all go back to work, when we're all putting it in. So that's key.
All right, I'm going to say an amen to that and move on to the next mayor, but thanks for coming out.
Thank you very much.
All right, stick around in case we have any questions for Kennesaw. We're going to move down to the other part of the county, down to Smyrna land with Mayor Derek Norton. And Mayor, thanks for coming out tonight, and I know you wanted to talk about what SPLOST means to Smyrna.
I did. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everybody for participating. We have a rich history of great SPLOST projects in Smyrna. When you think about SPLOST here in the city, think about the Taylor Bronner House and Taylor Bronner Park. Think about the Spring Road improvements on the entrance to the east side of the city. Think about Fire Station 2, Concord Road, our recycling center. And I'm pleased to bring you the new list for the 2020 SPLOST, all the projects that we're proposing. Our share of the SPLOST total is $52,745,000. The majority of that, $24,715,000, will be for citywide projects. $20 million, just over $20 million for transportation projects, $3.5 million for parks projects, $2.3 million for public safety projects, and joint city-county projects, just under $2 million. Next slide, please. One of our big focuses is downtown improvements and South Cobb Drive improvements. I think I've got a couple of slides on those coming up. Well, don't go yet, though. We want to refresh the downtown. We just had a master plan study done with a lot of different options to choose from of how we can do that. And I think anybody who's been in and around Smyrna for the last several years would agree that South Cobb Drive, particularly between Concord Road and Windy Hill, needs some attention and an overhaul, and we're looking forward to doing some improvements there. Facility improvements, $920,000. That, you know, all of our buildings in the city need a bit of touch up. We want them to all look as good as they did 20 years ago, and so we put just shy of $1 million in there to do that. Environmental improvements, we've got $460,000 slated for that. It's one of my priorities as mayor, environmental stewardship and energy conservation, and we've just gone through hired a firm to do an energy audit, and I look forward to the improvements that we're going to make there. And one of the things I heard most this last fall on the campaign, I probably went to 3,000 doors or more, everybody wants an aquatic center, and I think that'll be a huge amenity for our community and well received, and we've got a little over $11 million to build a state-of-the-art aquatic facility that has a gymnastics component and also a family learning library. Next slide, please. So this just shows some of the options for downtown improvements. They're talking about a light there at Powder Springs, a couple of new roads. There's been talk about an amphitheater possibly going in the green space between the community center and Atlanta Road, and a minibus transfer station to help move people around. So there's from a 30,000-foot level, that study showed us a lot of different options that we'll have to choose from and make our downtown better. Next slide, please. South Cobb, this is one of the projects that I'm most excited about. What you see on your screen is one of 4 options from a study we did a few years ago. I call this one the Cadillac. It's got all the bells and whistles. I think our intention is to take the best parts of each of these proposals that were put before us and do a complete overhaul of South Cobb Drive between Windy Hill and Concord Road. As you can see there's pocket parks added, a light at Bank Street, median improvements, beautification. It would really be a major improvement for that area. Next slide, please. So this is highlighting the vision of our librarian, Mary Moore, for the family learning library portion of the Aquatic Center. So you have more programming and services, multi-purpose programming room, interior, exterior book drop, 12,000 square feet. It's about $400,000. It will include 2 full-time and 1 part-time staff. Next slide, please. Restrooms at North Cooper Lake Park, they've been a long time coming, so we put those in the SPLOST. I know that people will be very pleased that we're putting those in. We've got $1.8 million in there for parkland acquisition. We're always trying to increase our parkland in the city, in and around the city, and so we'll be doing that. And then another thing I heard on the campaign, when are y'all going to put a splash pad in like Marietta? I get tired of hearing that, and so we'll do it, and it'll be a great thing that everybody can enjoy for years. We got $1.3 million in there for that. Next slide, please. I think this slide just shows some images of Aquatic Center, Gymnastics, and Family Learning Center. Next slide. And the splash pad. Next slide, please. So this is all of our transportation projects. We desperately need a parking deck downtown. Parking is a real issue there, so we've got just over $3.6 million slated for a parking deck there. The pedestrian bridge over Cobb Parkway, we have that's a joint project with the Cumberland CID, and it's like Frogger trying to get across 41 at a Braves game, so highly unsafe, and that'll be a huge improvement there, and bring some people over to spend some money in Smyrna while they're at the Braves game too. Resurfacing curb and gutter and Camp Highland bridge replacement. These are all maintenance issues. $5.5 million for resurfacing citywide. Curb and gutter $275,000, and the Camp Highland bridge replacement is $1.5 million. We've got $4.6 million in for sidewalks, trails, greenways, and beautification. This is improving walkability in the city, bikeability in the city, and making it do beautification efforts. And then we've got $1.1 million in there for traffic calming. That's one of the things I heard too from neighborhoods clear across the city. People are driving way too fast, and we need to put some things in there to slow everybody down. And so I think some slides coming up will show some examples of that. Next slide, please. This is a rendering or an image of where the Cobb Parkway Battery pedestrian bridge would go. It would start on the Smyrna side, near where the Steak and Shake is, just north of the Nally Lexus, and land over there on the Battery side. You can see there. Next slide. These are some of the projects that we've done recently with SPLOST. The Roswell Street Roundabout has been a huge success. We've replaced the bridge at Gann Road, and of course the Spring Street improvements. That was a thing that I did right when I was first elected to council, and that's made that entrance to the city that gets so many more views now that the Battery is there, much better. Next slide. This is some examples of the traffic calming measures. Medians, roundabouts, signage, all kinds of things that we'll implement to slow people down and route people a little bit better. Next slide. These are our public safety projects. Our radio system, as I understand it, is outdated and it's not going to be supported anymore. So we got $2 million in for our 800 megahertz radio replacement for all of our public safety personnel. And then the fire department, we've got $275,000 for some equipment for them. I think the lifespan of that equipment is 5 to 10 years, and we're getting towards the end of that, and I want to make sure that all of our first responders are protected. Next slide. This is just showing the what all is included in the 800 megahertz radio replacement. We got portable units, desktop units, weather siren radios, and all kinds of other things for SWAT, fire department, that kind of thing. Next slide. And this is some example of some of the fire safety equipment, self-containing breathing apparatus, cascade machines, thermal imager. I don't know what a cascade machine is. Thermal imager and extrication tools. Next slide. These are our 3 joint city and county projects. East-West Connector roadway safety improvements. We've got just under $1 million for that. A lot of citizen feedback that there are a lot of unsafe areas on the East-West Connector. We don't have specifics identified yet, but we've got a group looking at giving us some suggestions about where to make those improvements. Windy Hill Parkway improvements, this is part of the major project that's the overhaul of Windy Hill from South Cobb Drive to Atlanta Road. We've got $230,000 into for beautification efforts there. And then conversion of sports lighting to LED on all of our sports fields and courts, $700,000 would be the city's portion for that, a total of $1.85 million. And this is just a list in its entirety of everything that I've just gone over, I believe. I think that might be it.
All right. Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate it. And for better or for worse, you've got several questions that have been directed your way.
That's okay.
I'll throw at you. One thing I did want to say, I don't think anybody would argue that the South Cobb Drive needs to be worked on. I was a little surprised about the downtown because that's one area, especially over the last decade, that seems to be constantly changing. What feel do you get from your residents about what they want that to eventually look like?
I just think they want it to be a center where, an entertainment center, even more so than it is now. They talk about an amphitheater, talk about more bars and restaurants, more walkability, different ways to get in and around. So we're just going to be looking at all options that were put forward in that downtown master plan study to drive people to the downtown and keep it vibrant like it is today.
And you mentioned a parking deck, and that's something that here in Marietta has been talked about quite a bit as well. Where would that go, and what would that look like?
We're not exactly sure where it would go, probably somewhere down by the community center, in between maybe the police station and the community center is a good spot where that surface lot is. There's a couple other locations, maybe behind City Hall. I mean, if I had my way, we'd have 2 or 3 of them, but one will suffice for now.
One of the questions that came in had to do with fully funding and completing all projects in the 2016 SPLOST. And this question specifically talks about the Oakdale and Dickerson Road projects that have yet to move forward and had their budgets reduced, I guess, to beef up Windy Hill Road project. Does that make sense to you, and what do you say about that?
No, I understand what they're asking, and we did have to move around. A lot of this money was moved before any of us took office in this council and in this mayor's role. The Windy Hill is the gift that just keeps on taking. It's a major, major project that has increased in budget for the last year in particular. It's going to be more expensive than we thought, and so we had to move some money around from other projects. But it's my intention to get those fully funded, at Dickerson Road and Oakdale in particular. I know Councilman Wheaton has been working with me to try to figure out how we're going to shore that up.
And there's another question about Oakdale at Buckner Road and whether that would be included on a $25 million local, state, federal match list at any point.
I don't know the answer to that. I'd be open to discussing that, especially working with Councilman Wheaton. Yeah.
And there's a question here about a SPLOST Citizens Oversight Committee. You know, the county has one that the cities present to. They were asking whether that's a possibility for the city as well, or does what we have going on with the counties, does that suffice?
We don't have that in the city, but I'd be open to adding that and just to supplement what they're doing at the county.
Yeah, and like I've asked some of the other mayors, what's it been like getting citizen input about SPLOST in the environment that we're in?
It's been hard because we were poised to do that, and then COVID hit, and so we have gotten it out there the best we can. All the council members and I in particular have been aggressively seeking citizen input, and so it's a difficult environment. We're all operating in that right now, and probably will be for some time to come.
Yeah, and like I asked the other Derek, in this environment, how difficult has it been to reach out to people to educate them about SPLOST, given everything that's going on?
It's difficult. Everybody's in the Zoom world. You can do as much, there as you can, but it's hard. It's hard to reach people, and we're going to do our best to make sure that everybody's educated and understands how important this is. I hope that the past projects that we've been able to do and how that's made our community better is a perfect example to keep people motivated to get out there and support this SPLOST in November.
You said everybody's in the Zoom world, but I can speak to the fact that a lot of people aren't and don't want to be.
Yeah, well, lucky them.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mayor Norton from
Thank you.
Smyrna. And now we're going to move up to Marietta. Batting cleanup is Mark Rice. You're the Public Works Director. Do you want to tell him why Mayor Tumlin's not here, or shall I?
You can. Go ahead.
He had a minor procedure done and couldn't make it here today, so he threw you under the bus, and you're here to talk about SPLOST for the city of Marietta.
Yes, thank you, Ross. I want to thank all the citizens of Marietta and the Cobb County for approving not only the 2016 SPLOST, but all the previous SPLOST that has been voted on and approved. It has allowed Marietta to do a lot of things that I'm not real sure we would have been able to afford to do, transportation-wise, parks-wise, neighborhood improvement-wise. So it's been a very good program that we hope to be able to continue going forward into 2022 and for the next 6 years after that. So, all right, looking at our projects into 2022, I'll back up one more. There you go. Marietta's share of the estimated SPLOST is about $56.5 million. In addition to that, we have $3 million in shared projects with Cobb County. We have those broken down into different categories. Our core general projects, which we'll go into in just a few minutes, we have $29.6 million for that. We have mayor and council projects at $3.5 million. Parks, recreation, and facilities at a little over $6 million. Public safety at $4.5 million. Transportation projects at $11.4 million. Gateway improvements at $900,000. And utility infrastructure improvements at $500,000. Go ahead. $100 million. Our core general projects The biggest one in that is our street resurfacing. We've heard numerous talks about that, even last night from Cobb County and others, mayors here tonight as well. We have $13.2 million allowed for our resurfacing program for over the 6 years. Marietta has 225 miles of city streets, and we average 15 to 20 miles per year of resurfacing. That's what we shoot for. So that puts us in the 10 to 15 year on resurfacing all the streets, on a cycle. So I think Cobb DOT last night talked about their pavement index. Ours right now is at a 58, and we're trying to move that up to a 60 to 65 through the life of this next SPLOST. So that's our goal anyways as we're moving forward. Next item on our list is general streets and drainage at $4 million. That's keeping up our streets and our stormwater infrastructure system, moving that, keeping that, all those repairs and things done on it. Sidewalks and trails at $6.25 million. That is just general maintenance and trail construction throughout the city. Traffic system upgrades, our traffic management system at $2.75 million. That is important because through the 2016 SPLOST, we have had 34 intersection improvements, traffic signal improvements paid for through the ATMS part of the SPLOST. We've also initiated our preemption system that allows our emergency services to respond on average 2 minutes faster to emergency calls by flushing traffic through the traffic signals to allow emergency response vehicles to move through without having to move through the traffic as they're congested there. So it's very important for us to continue that maintenance and upgrade of that system. We have $500,000 for bridge rehabilitation, and then $225,000 for sign maintenance and street markings as well. So go ahead, next slide. Mayor and council has designated $3.5 million for the total of all their awards for neighborhood improvement projects like sidewalk, streets, traffic calming, and trails. If we have more revenues that come in above what we're projecting, they've identified another $4.5 million to be used on that as well across the city. So those are the mayor and council projects. Moving on to transportation. In the past, Marietta has spent a lot more money on transportation. This time we've scaled that back a little bit. We don't have as many big projects, but we have several of the smaller ones. The biggest project that we have right now on this list is the Cherokee Street widening, $4.5 million, which is up next to the hospital, which will widen Cherokee Street from Chicopee up to Tower Road to 3 lanes to allow some of that traffic to move through there around the hospital a little easier. We have intersection improvements over at Burn Hickory and Polk. We have a Belmead Bridge replacement over on Belmead Road. And Kennesaw Avenue streetscape improvement. Continuing, we have that project currently in the 2016, but this will finish that avenue out on streetscaping that road. We also have North Marietta Parkway improvements, which will be from Whitlock Avenue down to Cherokee Street, which will be sidewalk, trail, streetscape, intersection, and limited median improvements along that road. We're also got money in there for a neighborhood traffic study. We've heard some of the mayors talk about traffic calming and issues, and Marietta is the same. We've had numerous issues with those. So we're looking at doing a traffic study to look at cut-through traffic through some of our neighborhoods to see what we can do about the traffic calming on that. Go ahead, next slide, there you go. And then the final 3 transportation projects: Roswell Street 4-lane improvement from Lakewood Drive to Olive Street, which will complete this 4-lane section there of that road at $700,000, and the other section of Roswell Street, which would be from Victory Drive to Park Street, at $1.5 million. And then we have some other traffic calming roundabout over at Whitlock Drive and Hillcrest Drive at $750,000. So those are our transportation projects. Parks and Recreation and Facilities. We have money in there, $3.975 million for City Hall renovations. Our City Hall's a little over 40 years old, and it needs a little TLC right now, and so we got some money in there to help with that. Then we have some upgrades at Kennesaw House and for our public safety complex. We also have in there as a joint project with Cobb County a skate park. Location is still yet to be identified, but that will be to go in conjunction with our splash pad. We're doing a skate park. And then we have just general updates and park improvements of $1 million for citywide parks. Public safety projects for police and fire. We have a little over $1 million for replacement of police vehicles, which will get us 30 to 35 police vehicles over the life of the SPLOST. Fire is requested replacement of 2 fire pumpers. And then public safety training facilities and equipment, which will allow for the construction of new training facilities and the replacement of equipment for the fire and police, mainly at our Station 6, which is out off Sawyer Road. You see in that picture there in the lower right-hand corner at $2.279 million. Gateway improvements for the gateways coming into downtown or coming into Marietta, which could be sidewalks, trails, curb and guttering, general street improvements, corridor enhancements as the way I've got it worded there. That's $900,000 for that. And then the final item there is our water infrastructure improvements throughout the city, and we have $500,000 allocated for that. And those are our projects.
Thanks, Mark. I'm joined by Chairman Boyce again. I just had one question for you. That's a pretty detailed list. What goes into making that list?
We have been working on this list for over a year, working with mayor and council, and council has had several town hall meetings with their citizens throughout their wards, as well as our own live town hall meeting via Facebook that we had, and we had a couple more scheduled, and then COVID hit, so we've had a lot of citizen input as well, working closely with mayor and council to develop that list.
All right, we certainly appreciate you coming out. We hope Mayor Tumlin's feeling better. He owes you one now after you appeared with us here tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. And Chairman, you heard the presentation from the cities here. Got a few questions that I tossed at them, but a lot of them talked about the cooperation between the county and the cities.
Yeah, if I said this once, I've said it 100 times. There are 6 cities in Cobb County, and they're all very ably led by terrific mayors and councils. And I think tonight you see another example of why so many people want to live in Cobb County. Even if you didn't have a Cobb County, you just had the cities, you'd want to live in the cities. These are visionaries, their teams are visionaries, their people are visionaries, their citizens are engaged. I could go on with adjectives about how well these cities take care of themselves, but I've also emphasized is that what's good for Cobb County is good for the cities, and what's good for the cities is good for Cobb County. This is truly a family, and I cannot be more pleased by seeing all these projects here, and I can't wait to get into that splash pad.
I know. We've talked about this with some of the mayors. It's going to be a very noisy election in what's a very noisy year already.
Sure.
And what do you envision between now and November when it comes to engaging with our residents about SPLOST?
Look, this is America. We have creativity, innovation, so many qualities about us that make us great. And I'm confident that, like the county, the cities will find ways to engage with their citizens more and more. They'll get the pulse of them. They'll have this exchange back and forth. Tonight is just the start of the conversation about SPLOST. Even though we've been talking about it for a long time, we finally have something right here where they can all now benefit from that and engage and become part of the conversation. So I have no doubt in my mind that when November 3rd shows up here, if you took a minimum of effort just to use any different mediums we have here, channels or avenues for communication, you'll be an informed citizen, and I believe you understand why we're so excited about continuing to renew this SPLOST.
And we mentioned this last night. I haven't mentioned it yet today, though. If you go to cobbcounty.org, the big picture right now does have our SPLOST renewal logo on it. You click on that. There's a button in there you can click to review the entire project list for Cobb County, and I'm sure the cities will have theirs up as well in the future. So there is a lot of information out there.
And before we leave, I want to thank all the mayors for coming tonight. Did a great presentation, every one of them. Just goes to show you why I know every one of them is in office Every one of them lives in a city that I know that their residents are proud that they're their mayors.
And our agency directors who presented last night, they were also out here tonight. In case any more questions came in, I was threatened that I'd face bodily harm if I brought them back up here. So I've lucked out because the questions have not come in for them tonight, but we appreciate them coming out. And thanks again, Chairman, and I assume we'll be doing stuff like this moving forward.
I hope so. Thank you for all you've done, Ray. You and your team both.
All righty, we appreciate you. All stay safe. Once again, go to cobbcounty.org. There's a lot of information on our SPLOST page right now. You can continue to file your questions in, those we couldn't get to last night or tonight. We will email you back with some answers. And as we go out, I think we're going to show you some of the legacy that SPLOST has left behind here in Cobb County. Stay safe, everyone.